Hi, this is Will with My Spiritual Clarity, and today's video is on the first myth of the helper's paradox. And that myth is, I need better boundaries. And the helper's paradox states that the more a person needs to help, the less able they are to help. So the more a parent needs to help their children, the more attached they get, the less able they are to actually know what is the best thing to do in the situation. It's part of why doctors are not allowed to operate on family or friends, because they're too close to it, they're too attached. Similar to the helper's paradox, where that need to help destroys your ability to help. You get too emotionally attached to the outcome, and you're no longer objective to make the best or the right decision. So with healers and coaches and therapists, who are my main clients, this looks like making your work so accessible financially that you end up not being able to make the money you need to have a full-time practice, and then you can't scale and reach as many clients as you'd like, or even enough to stay afloat financially, and then you have to go get a job or close down your business. Is one example. And with all of these examples of the helper's paradox, there's a ton of gray area. This is not black or white. There's no fixed thing to say, oh, you are definitely in the helper's paradox, guaranteed. I have quizzes and things on this, but still, there's a lot of gray area. So I'm not here to be prescriptive. I'm here to help illuminate the paradox so that you can identify it and step out of it. So this first myth of I need better boundaries. So why is it a myth? Well, because boundaries it's the final stop. It's like if there's a problem all the way down the track and then you get to the last stop and you go, oh, it's the train, but really it was the tracks all the way along. You don't blame the train, you look at the tracks. That's not the greatest analogy, but it's good enough. So I find that boundaries, it's number 8. First is procrastination showing up. Then you get overwhelmed. That's the second. The inner critic starts kicking your ass, and then you start to doubt yourself and your expertise, and then you start helping everyone else instead of dealing with your own work. And then before you know it, you've got boundary issues. You're always putting others before yourself. You're not getting that time for self-care. You would try to put up a sign on your office door for your kids and your spouse to say, in focused work time, but it'd be useless. And clients maybe call you or text you at inappropriate times, and all of your sessions or many of your sessions go overtime. These are all examples of I need better boundaries. But I have found with dozens and dozens, maybe even 100 clients so far, that once we deal with all of the crap on the first 7 steps, and I call them the 8 pillars of the imposter complex, once we deal with the first 7, they don't have boundary issues anymore. So with the helper's paradox, it's a myth. I think they call it a red herring. It's a distraction. You don't need better boundaries. You need to deal with your need to help others and how that is eclipsing other parts of your life. Woo, that's bold. I'm not usually that blunt in videos. I am with clients directly, but that's because I can see their facial expressions. I don't know how you'll take this video watching it, but there it is. You don't need better boundaries. You need to deal with your need to help others, which is not the same as saying you need to stop helping others. That's not what I'm saying at all. I believe the world needs more people that are helpers. I wish there were more people stuck in the helper's paradox. But then if you identify that you are, you need to deal with that need. So how do you do that? Well, the first step is you have to admit that you have a problem. I am a helper. I am stuck in the helper's paradox. The second step is you have to identify what are the beliefs or what are the thought patterns that stick you there. And this is not for me to say, step 3 is not going to be create the affirmation of the opposite of that and repeat it 100 times a day. That's not my work. But you do have to identify what's the trigger. What's that moment where you go into helping. So for a long time, I was not able to deal with the discomfort of not having the dishes done by the end of the day. I was trying to build my business, and yet I was prioritizing the dishes so I didn't have to have that difficult, awkward conversation with my wife. That was actually the helper's paradox. I needed total peace and balance in my relationship with my wife, and I wasn't willing to prioritize my business over the dishes. And that screwed me up for a long time. So I had to identify, oh, my need to help her, my need to keep the peace is really limiting my growth. So for you, where in your life and with whom in your life do you it's just this knee-jerk response. You don't even question it. You have to make the kids breakfast before you can do a bit of yoga for yourself in the morning. You have to go over time in that client session because they really need you. What are the moments in your life, or who are you with when you have that thought, or that sinking feeling in your stomach, or that excited feeling of like, oh, they need me. It may not feel negative in the moment necessarily, but it's that need to be needed. So first you identify that you're in the helper's paradox. Then you identify the specific scenarios or the thought patterns that come up. And then third, I'm going to give you a very specific tool. And I do this in my half-day intensive classes where we get deep into the energetics of it and we clear the energy and the limiting beliefs together live. But I'll give you this so that you can feel the beginning of it, and then you'll really know if you're in this helper's paradox. So here's the tool. When you think of that person, think of that scenario or that situation, close your eyes, and then repeat out loud, "You don't need me." Ooh. You don't need me. And I'm laughing because I can feel the energy, even though this is not a lot. This is a recorded video, and yet I can feel the reaction from many, many people. I've seen the reaction live from many, many people, and it's such a simple process, but it's deceptively simple, because if you try that with your kids or your spouse or your client that's having a really hard time, this does not mean that you'll clear all the energy and then you'll become a robot who doesn't care about people and you just let everyone, fall to the wayside. That's not the point. The point is to identify that knee-jerk response so that you can step out of that and truly be of service, not adding to the energy of need. So if you run that question, if you repeat that question, and you start to hate me for even suggesting it, or you get bent out of shape or emotionally reactive, you are in the helper's paradox, almost guaranteed. And I'd invite you to come and check out one of our half-day intensives where we go deep into this, or come and join the Mentally Mentorship group, where each month we have a couple calls where we can go deeper into this using both the modality of prayer and the modality of identifying and clearing limiting beliefs specifically, and can help you get unstuck. Because I've seen the power of identifying the helper's paradox and then stepping out of it, and it's amazing what it can shift. The new clients that show up, the new opportunities, the new income, and most especially just less anxiety and less stress in your life because you've got a better, healthier balance. So drop me a line if you like at myspiritualclarity.com, or you can comment below in this video, and of course subscribe so you get more videos of me walking in the woods talking about hopefully deep and meaningful conversations. Have an awesome day, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye for now.